the evening began like any other. Emily pushed open the front door of her house, balancing 2 grocery bags in her arms. The air smelled faintly of rain and freshly cut grass from the neighbor's lawn. Normally, when she came home, her husband Mark would greet her from the kitchen or living room. But today, the house felt different. Too quiet. "Mark?" she called. No answer. She placed the groceries on the counter and walked toward the living room. Mark was sitting on the couch, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. His face looked pale and tense. "Hey," Emily said carefully. "Everything okay?" Mark lifted his head slowly. "We need to talk." Emily's stomach tightened. Those 4 words always meant trouble. She sat across from him. "What's going on?" Mark took a deep breath. "I've made a mistake." Emily's heart started beating faster. "What kind of mistake?" Mark's hands trembled. "I've been having an affair." The words felt unreal. Emily blinked. "An affair?" He nodded. "How long?" 4 months. 4 months of lies. 4 months of pretending. Emily swallowed hard. "Who is she?" Mark hesitated. Emily's stomach dropped. "Mark," she said slowly. "Who is she?" He finally whispered the name. "Sarah." Emily froze. Sarah. Her best friend. The woman who had been part of her life for over 10 years. The woman who stood beside her at her wedding. The woman she trusted like a sister. "That's not funny," Emily said quietly. "I'm not joking." Emily's chest tightened with anger and disbelief. "How could you do this?" Mark ran his hand through his hair. "It just happened." Emily laughed bitterly. "Nothing just happens. You chose it." Her mind raced with memories. Sarah visiting their home, laughing at dinner, hugging her goodbye. All of it suddenly felt like a lie. "Call her," Emily said. Mark looked shocked. "What?" "Call her right now." "Emily, that's not a good idea." "I didn't ask for your opinion." Reluctantly, Mark dialed Sarah's number. She answered quickly. "Hey," Sarah said casually. "Is Emily home yet?" Emily's heart twisted. Mark didn't respond. Emily took the phone. "Hi, Sarah." Silence. "Emily?" "Yes," she replied calmly. "I'm here." Sarah arrived 20 minutes later. Emily had insisted. When the doorbell rang, Mark looked like he might faint. Emily opened the door. Sarah stood there nervously. Her eyes immediately moved between Emily and Mark. "I can explain," she said quickly. Emily crossed her arms. "Please do." Sarah stepped inside slowly. "Emily, it wasn't supposed to happen. That seems to be everyone's excuse tonight." Mark stared at the floor. Sarah sighed. "It started one night when you were working late. Mark and I were talking, drinking wine." Emily interrupted. "And you decided sleeping with your best friend's husband was a good idea?" Sarah's face flushed. "It wasn't planned." Emily shook her head. "You betrayed me." Both of them had. "What hurts most," Emily continued, "is that you both sat across from me at dinner like nothing was wrong." Neither of them could meet her eyes. Emily pulled out her phone. "I've been recording everything." Both of them looked up instantly. "What?" Mark said. "Yes," Emily replied calmly. "Every confession. Every excuse." Sarah's face turned pale. "Why would you do that?" Emily's expression hardened. "Because lies deserve witnesses." The tension in the room thickened. Emily watched them carefully. "You know," she said slowly, "I almost feel sorry for both of you." Mark frowned. "What do you mean? You think this is just about cheating?" Sarah shifted uncomfortably. "It's not." Emily shook her head. "It's about trust, loyalty, respect." She walked toward the window. You destroyed all three in a single hour. Mark spoke quietly. I never meant to hurt you. Emily laughed softly. That's exactly what you did. Sarah suddenly spoke. Emily, I think you deserve to know the truth. Emily turned. What truth? Sarah looked at Mark nervously. Mark was planning to leave you. The words hung in the air. Emily stared at him. Is that true? Mark didn't answer. That silence was answer enough. Emily felt something inside her finally break. 8 years of marriage. Gone. An hour later, the house was quiet again. Mark had left. Sarah had followed shortly after. Emily sat alone in the living room. Her marriage had collapsed in 60 minutes. The pain was still there. But beneath it, something else was growing. Strength. She looked around the house. For years, she believed her happiness depended on this marriage. Now she realized something important. It never had. She stood up and opened the windows. Fresh air filled the room. For the first time that night, she took a deep breath. Her life wasn't over. It was beginning again. And this time, she would build it on her own terms. The weeks following the gala were both strange and liberating. The once familiar walls of Emma's home now felt different, almost charged with energy. Daniel's presence, previously comforting and familiar, had become a reminder of deceit. Yet, instead of despair, Emma felt clarity. She had navigated the betrayal, exposed the lies, and regained control over her life. Daniel had tried in vain to apologize, to explain, to beg for forgiveness. Emma listened to none of it. His words were empty, his charm ineffective. Each plea reminded her of the countless lies, the secret nights, the false assurances. She realized something crucial. Forgiveness could not erase deceit, and trust, once broken, could not be reconstructed by hollow promises. Sophia, too, had faded from the edges of Emma's life. Mutual friends now avoided her, aware of her role in the betrayal. Emma didn't gloat, didn't celebrate publicly. She knew humiliation was secondary. Her victory lay in her composure, her intelligence, and her ability to rise above. Emma began focusing on herself. She redesigned her work schedule, taking on more creative projects. She enrolled in a photography course, something she had always postponed, and started exercising regularly, not just for her appearance, but to reclaim her physical and mental energy. Evenings, once dominated by worry and betrayal, were now her own. She cooked meals she loved, read books she had shelved long ago, and took long walks in the park, feeling the sun and the breeze as if for the first time in months. She learned to enjoy her own company, to find joy in independence. One afternoon, she met with a close friend for coffee. Her friend asked cautiously, Emma, how are you really? Emma smiled, a calm, assured smile. I'm better than I ever thought I could be. I've learned that some betrayals reveal your true strength, and I've found mine. It wasn't just about Daniel or Sophia anymore. It was about Emma reclaiming her life. Every laugh, every smile, every quiet moment alone was now hers, not borrowed from a husband who had betrayed her, not stolen by a friend who had deceived her, but fully, entirely hers. When Daniel eventually moved out, Emma felt no sadness, only relief. The house, once heavy with secrecy and lies, now felt lighter. She had proven to herself that she didn't need a partner to define her worth. She had her intelligence, her creativity, and her resilience, and that was more than enough. Months later, Emma received a polite, distant message from Daniel, asking for some form of reconciliation. She didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. She had no desire to re-enter a life tainted with lies. Her focus was forward, not backward. Emma had grown in ways she hadn't imagined possible. The betrayal, once a devastating wound, had become a catalyst for transformation. She had learned to trust herself, to act decisively, and to face adversity with calm strategy. The pain had forged strength, and the heartbreak had birthed independence. One evening, sitting on her balcony with a cup of tea, Emma reflected on the journey. The memories of Daniel and Sophia no longer triggered anger, they were lessons. She was no longer the woman who had silently endured lies. She was a strategist, a survivor, and a woman who understood her own power. And in that quiet, reflective moment, she smiled, not out of cruelty, not out of revenge, but out of fulfillment. Her life was hers again, and she would never allow anyone to take that away. Emma knew the road ahead would still have challenges, but she was ready. She had faced betrayal, exposed it, and emerged stronger. The lessons were clear, the victory complete. She had rewritten her story, not as a victim, but as a woman who refused to be underestimated. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Emma finally felt whole. Her past no longer held her hostage. Her present was hers to command. And her future, brilliant, independent, and unapologetically her own, awaited.